Buying your first home, refinancing, improving your credit score, buying an investment property, or even home design tips. We got you covered.
Welcome to Mortgage Matters, a show where we'll be talking about home buying, refinancing, mortgage tips with Shashank Shekhar, the CEO of Arcus Lending. He's the author, best-selling author, and top 40 under 40 mortgage professionals in the country. Welcome to Mortgage Matters, Shashank.
Thank you so much, Kritika.
So, Shashank, you and Arcus Lending are well known in the industry, but those who are watching you today, they might not know you that well. So can you share a little bit about Arcus Lending and your journey?
Sure, of course. It's been a fascinating journey, to say the least. We started in 2008 when most people in the industry were actually leaving the industry. And it said about 65% of the mortgage professionals left the industry in 2008 because of the real estate crisis that was there in the US. We took a different approach. We thought that there is a gap the customers are looking for something which is not available at that point of time. They were looking for education, which caused the real estate crisis in the first place, and that's where Arcus Lending came to fill the gap. And it's been, about 8-9 years that we have been in existence. In Arcus Lending and personally we have together won virtually every single award that's there in the industry. We have made education the foundation of our business. And I personally don't know of any other mortgage lender in the country that has invested so much resource in trying to educate its customers. And from webinars to seminars to radio shows to blogs to books to ebooks, we pretty much do everything which is online and offline to try and help and educate our customers, whether they end up working with us or not at the end of the day. So Arcus Lending has grown from that small little tiny startup company founded really on my kitchen table with a $2,000 investment to become this company where we are one of the largest brokers in the country. And that has happened because of our focus on customer service, has happened because of our focus on education, and has happened because everything that we have promised to our clients when we are trying to get them to loan, that we have delivered on it. And this is just a start, and we are getting licensed into so many more states. We are building the same educational platform. We are building it, and we are creating some of the technology platforms, and we plan to bring it to so many more audience in the future.
So you've pretty much won every single major award. Talk to us about that and how many awards and what awards your mortgage company has won.
Sure, I've kind of lost a track of how many awards we have won, but that's actually a good thing that we have won so many awards. There are really 3 or 4 major awards in the industry. If you look at it, there is something called Top 25 Most Connected Mortgage Professional. And there is an industry magazine that gives you that award. And that award is for people who have the most following in the industry, who have a lot of following on their blogs, on their social media. And these are the top 25 in the country. And I have won that award for 2 years. And then there is top 40 under 40 most influential mortgage professional. You included that in the introduction, which was fabulous, by the way. Thank you. I have won that for 3 years in a row. And then they have the top 200 loan officers in the country, which is how much business you do. They rank you on the basis of that. And mind you, Kritika, there are over 300,000 loan officers in the country, and these awards are only for top 25, top 40, top 200 loan officers. I have won that for 4 years in a year in a row as of now. But the award that I'm really most proud of, 2 awards, one for the company and one for me personally. There is an award which Mortgage Professional America magazine comes out of. They call it Hot 100. These are the movers and shakers of the industry. And the people who are included in this award are Fed chairmen like Janet Yellen or Ben Bernanke. So these are some of the biggest names in the financial services industry, CEOs of large companies like Chase and Wells Fargo. And I have been named to that list for 3 years in a row as of now. And so I'm extremely proud of that because I'm really in line, or I'm being given that award with some of the biggest name that this country has in the financial services industry. And for the company itself, for Arcus Lending, we were named the most visionary organization in 2015, and we were named that because of the things that we are doing, which is very futuristic, because of the things that we are investing into technology. We are building a a customer experience which is not available if you were to work with bigger banks. And these two awards I think I'm most proud of, because these are the two things that we have done which very few people in the industry are doing.
Well, this leads to my next question as to like what sets Arcus Lending apart from other competitors of yours?
So that's a good question. As I said, just in terms of loan officers, there are over 300,000 loan officers in the country. If you look at mortgage companies in the US, again, there are hundreds and thousands of companies. And so when you're trying to start a company, especially in 2008, when there's very little business and there are very few people who are actually looking for mortgages, you have to build a company which is very different than the rest of the industry. And not just for the company, which was very new in 2008. I was in the country only for 2 years back then. So when most people start mortgage companies, they would usually go to their circle of influence. They would go to friends and family and say, hey, can you send me some business? I've just started this business. But I was only less than 2 years in the country. I didn't go to college here. My closest relative lives in Canada. So you can see that there was no one I could actually go to and say, hey, can you send me some business? I'm new to this. So in that sense, I was trying to build something which is very, very different. And we've talked about the fact why I made education the biggest pillar of my business, because I realized that the crisis of 2008 happened because a lot of people did not know what kind of mortgage they were getting into. Yeah. They were signing these papers, they were getting into loan programs which they had no clue what they were signing on. So we made that the number one, the biggest pillar for the business. And we followed that up with customer service. If you look at our Yelp reviews or Facebook or Google Plus or Zillow, wherever you go, we have an all 5-star review. It's because of the commitment that we have towards customer service. It's the commitment that the entire team has towards customer service and what we deliver on at the end of the day. So I would say our investment into technology, our educational platform, and how we delivered on our customer service, all of those three put together creates a company which is very, very different than whatever else that I see in the industry right now.
Well, you started on your own and now you have reached to such high level in your life, and you've had several media appearances as well. So talk to us a little bit about your media appearances and which have been your favorite ones.
This seems like this will end up as my favorite one.
I hope so.
We have just started. I have been on a lot of major TV networks. I've been interviewed on some of the biggest radio shows in the country, including some of the Hall of Famer radio show interviews. But the very recent, my blog post getting into the Huffington Post, I think was highlight, at least in the last couple of years. As we know, the Huffington Post is one of the biggest portal and the web platforms out there. So to have my blog post published there was something really, really special, something I did not expect them to do that, and they did that. So again, I wouldn't say that I would like to say that's my absolute favorite, but at least this year, for the last year, I thought that was a pleasant surprise that I really liked. But I look forward. Most of my media interviews, again, is just an extension of the educational platform that we bring to the customer. It's more to showcase what we bring to the table to our audience and to our clients, and also to bring credibility to the company, to Arcus Lending. So I really look forward to our show, of course, and hopefully it turns out to be my favorite one, as I said.
Well, on that note, I'm going to take a quick break and Mortgage Matters will continue. Welcome back to Mortgage Matters, a show where we talk about home buying, refinancing, and mortgage tips with Shashank Shekhar, the CEO of Arcus Lending. Welcome back, Shashank.
Thanks, Shruti.
So, Shashank, we were talking about home buying and we were talking about Arcus Lending.
Sure.
So now 2017 has just started. We have a new administration. So talk to us about mortgage. What's happening to mortgage rates this year?
Sure. So predicting anything in the mortgage world is extremely difficult. But I'll tell you about a few things that I think will happen this year in 2017. And it's very important for audience to keep a track of it, because especially if they're thinking of buying or refinancing this year. One thing that's changing is the loan amount itself. In a lot of areas, the loan amount limit, which was there last year, that has gone up a little bit. Like the 417,000 loan amount limit has gone up to 424,100. In some expensive counties, especially from where I come, California, those loan amounts have gone up from 625 to about 636. So that's one important thing for people to take a note of. which is a good thing because they can borrow a little bit more than what they could in the past. Second thing where I see the industry will probably see the biggest shift this year is the adoption of technology. Before the break, I was talking about how Arcus Lending is at the forefront of bringing technology into the industry. And that's one place where I think more and more players will kind of catch up to the fact that the next generation of home buyers prefer more technology. They will bring in more e-signature platforms. But also I think that even the closing could move to completely digital, which means that you could be in any part of the country or any part of the world and you still be maybe able to close your mortgage transaction here in the US because of the digital capability that the industry will have. Now coming to the most important part, which is mortgage rates, because everybody wants to know where the rates are heading this year, because that helps them decide whether they should be buying or refinancing this year or not. I see a definite trend of the mortgage rates moving up a little bit. We saw that at the end of the last year, just after the election results came out, that the rates started moving up, and that trend has continued as we get into 2017. And that will most likely continue as we move forward in 2017. So as we go up, as it will probably go up a little bit. So in fact, it's forecasted that by the end of 2017, we'll get closer to 5% mortgage rate. I think we'll probably be somewhere between 4.5% and 5%. But there is a definite sense that we will see a higher rate at the end of the year than where we are at the beginning of the year.
So what are your predictions for real estate in 2017?
Okay, so looks like it's
an astrology show right here.
we just changed the format of the show, I guess, without me being told about it. Predictions with real estate is even more difficult in the sense that one, real estate is very local at times. So you could see a real estate trend in Silicon Valley, California, which could be very different than, say, Edison, New Jersey, or Dallas, Texas. These are different markets which get influenced by different dynamics. The more the job market moves into a certain area, there are more jobs creation, more people move into that area. You will see the real estate prices going up in those areas. That's one of the reasons why you see the coastal properties are way more expensive. Properties in New Jersey, New York, California are way more expensive than, say, Michigan or Missouri or something. It's mostly because of the availability of jobs in those areas. We saw that over the last 2-3 years, property appreciation have been almost through the roof, whichever market in the country that you belong to. And that kind of a trend, we will probably not see the same kind of appreciation this year at the same level, but the home prices should still see a small appreciation this year in most markets. Again, it's nearly impossible to predict the entire country in a go because, as I said, they do get moved because of different reasons. But if you look at broadly across the country, you will see the home prices will go up a tad bit, anything between 1% or 5%, depending on which market you are. Some markets may see a slowdown where the job creation is not that much. But most of the desirable neighborhoods where there are people moving into it, where there will be more jobs in 2017, they will continue to see some level of appreciation even in 2017.
So given these predictions, what are some of the tips you would like to give to the homeowners and home buyers that are watching your show right now?
Yeah, so we talked about two things. When you are a homeowner, you're basically looking at refinancing. What you're trying to see is that you have a certain mortgage rate, can you find something which is lower than that? And if you are a home buyer, meaning a potential home buyer thinking of buying a home, you are mostly looking at where are the real estate prices headed, where are the mortgage rates headed, and combine that two and see is there an opportunity for us to buy? And given that the predictions are for home prices to go up a tad bit, the mortgage rates to go up a tad bit, the sooner they do that in 2017, the better it is for them. So if you're thinking of refinancing, you'll probably be better off doing it earlier in the year when the rates are probably slightly lower than later in the year when the rates might go up a lot. Same with real estate prices. We see that the spring and summer home buying season, which is what we are just about to get into, is somewhere where we get more inventory. There are more homes on the market, there are more options for the buyers to pick from, and typically those 5-6 months from February to about July, August are great months for someone to decide whether they should be buying or not because of the higher number of homes available on the market. So both for home buyers and homeowners, my advice for them in 2017, especially for the next few months, would be that take that decision sooner than later. Some of the people who could have refinanced in 2016, they waited for it. And that ended up in the mortgage rates being so much higher now. Don't make the same mistake. Don't just keep waiting through 2017 for things to change and by the time you're ready, you're thinking of buying, it's already too late. I'm not saying that you will not be able to buy after that, but you're probably buying the same thing at a much higher mortgage rate. And why would you do that when you can do that earlier in the year?
Yeah, well, on that note, I'm going to take a quick break. Do keep watching Mortgage Matters. Welcome back to Mortgage Matters. I'm talking to Shashank Shekhar, and he's sharing some details about home buying, refinancing, and giving some mortgage tips. Welcome back, Shashank.
Thanks.
So before we went on the break, we were talking about home buying. So what are some of the tips you would like to give to the homeowners about home buying, and what should they do for 2017, since it's a good year for home buying?
Of course it is. I think one of the first things that any home buyer, and by home buyer I mean a potential home buyer who's thinking of buying a home, should do is what we call get pre-approved.
Yeah.
A lot of people, what they do is that when they're thinking of buying a home, the first thing they do is that they hop onto Zillow or Trulia or Redfin, or just look at the properties, because that's a nice thing to do, right? When you're looking for homes, you want to look at these beautiful homes because it just makes you feel good. That's what you do. But we advise that you should first look at your numbers. As boring as it may sound, that's more important than looking at the homes. You shouldn't be looking at the homes that you might not even be able to afford. And so when we say we're getting pre-approved, what that means is that what you're trying to do is that you're trying to figure out how much loan do you qualify for? Is this a house that you're looking at? Would you even be able to afford it? And sometimes you may be able to qualify for a certain house, but because of certain obligations that you have, you may not want to buy a house that big. You want to keep your payments low.
Yeah.
And that's something that most of the people do not do. Most of the people tend to do other things than focus on their finances. Also, what getting pre-approved does is that if you have any problems with your income or employment or your credit, you get a few months to work on it and fix it before you go out and look for your homes. If you do it the other way around, which is you look for homes first, you make an offer on a home, then only to realize you do not qualify for that home. Then you have wasted 2 months or 3 months or 5 months or 6 months of searching for that home, looking for that home, making that offer, only to find out that you don't qualify for it. So any home buyer who's looking to buy in 2017, that's my number one advice, that go get yourself pre-approved first, figure out how much loan you qualify for, what kind of payment you will be getting into, is that something that you can afford, and you qualify for that before you do anything else.
But how do they decide as to which lender they can go to for pre-approval?
Yeah, that's a good question, right? Because earlier, I think in the show, we were talking about the fact that there are over 300,000 loan officers in the country. There are literally hundreds and thousands of mortgage lenders in the country. And so when you're deciding which lender to work for, it is kind of a tedious task, especially for first-time home buyers who have no prior experience of figuring out how to find a lender. There's one easy way which most people do is, of course, just ask their friends and family, hey, did you work with someone? Did you buy a home using a mortgage lender, and how did you like them? How was the service? How was the rate? And that's one easy way probably to figure out who to work with.
Word of mouth.
Yeah, word of mouth, as they say. And if that's not something you want to do, or you are probably the first in your friend group to buy a home, and you other friends have had no experience or bad experience working with a lender, then what I advise is that the absolute first thing that you should look for in a mortgage lender is the credibility and reputation. Most people, again, make the mistake of first looking at mortgage rates. Like, let's shop for rates. Let's see who has the lowest mortgage rates. You'll be surprised that some of the companies that advertise the best mortgage rates online, when you go to websites and try to shop for mortgage rates, also tend to have the worst customer service. There's a major online company that consistently advertises the lowest rates, and they have over 500 complaints on Better Business Bureau. They have pathetic Yelp reviews. It's because they do what is called bait and switch. They advertise a certain rate, you get and start working with them, and then they switch. They'll give you a rate which is very different than what they were advertising. So look at credibility and reputation. Look for their Yelp reviews, look for their Google reviews, look for what kind of media attention are they getting. Is it for something good or something bad? How much exposure are they getting in the media? And at the end of the day, also understand that some people think that if we go with a major bank, work with Wells or Bank of America or Chase, they are large organizations. And what can possibly go wrong with a company that's as large as that? Understand that at the end of the day, you are working with a person at Wells or Chase. It's not as if you're working with the CEO of Wells and Chase, right? So how good is that person is very important, because if that person that you're working with, called the loan officer in our industry, if that is not qualified enough, hasn't had the experience of working in the industry, then you are getting advice from a person who should not be advising you about you taking the most important financial decision on your life. So focus on credibility and reputation first. Work with an expert in the industry. Once you have done that, then if you have a couple of people of shortlist, then see who has the better interest rate and loan programs to work with. Don't do it the other way around. Don't shop for the best rates and then just say, oh, these guys have the best rates, let's work with them. You, in more cases than not, you'll be extremely disappointed with that approach.
But how do you time the market when it comes to home buying?
So it's a difficult thing. A lot of people, if you would talk to your friends, Kritika, if they're thinking of buying or something, they will tell you that they think that they know the future. You'll be surprised, even Fed chairmen don't know what the future is. They can predict where the economy will be 1 month from now. And they will be like, oh, this is not a good time to buy homes because the home prices are already at the highest level that they could be. It's only in retrospect you can see if it was the best time to buy a home or not. Only once an event has already occurred, you can go and look back in the past and see, oh, in 2006, December, if we bought the house, that was the best time, because then there was crisis or whatever. So you can look back in the mirror and say, make that kind of a statement. So when you're trying to buy a house, don't look at timing it. It's something that you will probably never be able to do anyway. What you should be looking at is, do you have the emotional need to buy a home right now? Do you need to move out from your parents' home? Or do you have kids that need to have a bigger backyard? Or do they need to get to a better school? If that's the need that you have, buy a home because of that. And then if you plan to live in that home for a long enough period, say 5, 7, 10 years or something, then, and if you're buying in a nice neighborhood and buying in a place where their job market is pretty strong, the home prices will appreciate. You don't have to worry about that. Every 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 year cycle, home prices have appreciated every single time. Even after the worst crisis of 2008, home prices have rebounded even after that. So don't focus so much on, can I time the market? Nobody can. As in, sometimes they can, but it's mostly a fluke. It's not an intended decision that they did. So focus on your emotional need. Focus on your financial need. Can you afford to buy that home? If those two things work for you, then go ahead, buy that home. And don't try to so much look into where the home prices are heading, because that's something even experts can barely predict. So don't get into that game. I don't think that's really important.
Well, viewers, as Shashank Shekhar just mentioned, do not focus on the time of the market. Rather focus on your own needs of home buying. I would end this show today, and I would say if you want your questions to be featured on the show, then do email at mortgagematters@arcuslending.com or do like Arcus Lending's Facebook page. I would like to end this show today, and thank you so much for watching Mortgage Matters.